So I said that I wouldn't do another video on this subject unless there was a significant development. Well, I'd consider this a very significant development. Since the last video following on from the Sonic livestream, the story of the Sonic statue in the mountains of Japan has gained quite a bit of traction from several Japanese news outlets, including Yahoo Japan and Nico Video. This has prompted many well-known Sonic and Sega alumni, including Hirokazu Yasuhira and Yuji Naka, to comment on the story. Yuji Naka says that he would like to visit the statue one day, and Yasuhira just seems fascinated by the story. However, the significant news comes from a Japanese news site, J-Town, who decided to investigate the statue, and they actually managed to uncover a lot of details surrounding it. So using Google Translate and through the help of a friend who is actually Japanese who doesn't speak much English himself, I've managed to translate a bit of the article and I've got a rough idea of all the details, but obviously there's probably some misinterpretations here and there. So with that, I give you this update. We have found the owner. But before you get too excited, I think you should listen to the full story. The website first contacted the Public Relations Office in the Mie Prefecture and spoke to an officer about the mystery. When they were asked directly about the statue, they were told that they had no information on it. So this therefore ruled out that the statue was owned by the state or under some kind of public ownership, like a public park or some other attraction like that. They didn't stop with their investigations there. They actually went to a nearby area and began to make inquiries about the statue. And it appears that just a few minutes down the road, there is actually a small bed and breakfast hotel. So they went there and asked the staff about it. Now at this point, the automated translations make this a bit confusing, but it seems that when they asked the hotel owner, they said that they took over the hotel around 10 years ago. And at that time, the statue was already there. But they did say that the statue marked an entrance to a villa, and that the previous owner of the villa was also the owner of the statue. This led them to a man named Yuji Kodera. And this is where the story takes a very sad turn. You see, Yuji Kodera sadly passed away a few years ago. So the journalist was then able to track down the family of Mr. Kodera, and they agreed to speak to him about their father and the statue. And their interview has actually answered a lot of the unknown questions about how the statue got there. It seems that either their father or one of the sons of the father owned and operated the Sega World Arcade. Yes, that same one that was in the commercial. And during some renovations of the actual arcade, a lot of the old equipment and decorations were going to be thrown out. But Mr. Kodera decided to save the Sonic statue by taking it to his villa and placing the statue as a mark to the entryway. It seems that his home was quite hard to see from the nearby road, and visitors to his house would often get lost or have a hard time finding it. So he decided to place the statue at the entryway on his property to mark both the entryway to his home and as a way to welcome and greet people coming to visit. The article goes on, and it seems that Mr. Kodera was quite a warm and friendly person who cared both for the statue and people in general. And at the time that he first placed the statue down, he even invited people from around the area to effectively gather round and view it, just as an awesome piece of landscape that he'd put there. It seems that his children very much loved their father, and the article notes that they all became a little emotional talking about their father and the statue. But if my understanding of the content of the article is correct, they seem pleased that people from all over the world have shown an interest in the statue, because it reflects their father's nature, who enjoyed it when people gathered together for events. Much like how we've kind of all gathered around looking at this amazing statue and this amazing story, trying to figure out where it came from and who owns it. It's kind of in the spirit of what Mr. Kodera actually got it for originally. And the article does end with a quote which, again, translations are not brilliant here. It does kind of give the notion that they might look into repainting the statue to make it beautiful again. So, there's a lot to take in from this update and this development in the story. We now know for certain how the statue got to the mountains, and also why it got there. Sadly, we also learn that the original owner has since passed away. But what I think is important, the most important part of this story is that Mr. Cadera placed this here so people could find his home, and basically he enjoyed having visitors over. And from the interview with his children, it seems that he just would have enjoyed the fact that this statue and this story has brought so many people together to try and find it. So I know that a lot of people are still probably going to think, what happens now with the statue? Well, unless a legal expert in Japanese law can tell me otherwise, I would imagine that the statue is now owned by the family of the late Mr. Cadera. And based on the story, I think the family of Mr. Cadera have the complete right to decide what happens with the statue next. But given what they say in the interview, it sounds like they'd be open to see it restored or at least repainted, but it's completely their decision, and I fully respect that, and I think everybody should respect that. So for me at least, I think what should happen right now is someone, and not a random person online, either a news outlet or maybe even Sega of Japan themselves, should at least get in touch with the family and offer to help them restore it. And if they agree, then the discussion of crowdfunding to help restore the statue can actually begin. But unless the family says otherwise, I think the statue should remain where it is in accordance with Mr. Cadera's wishes. So that's the story. It seems amazing that the hunt for the statue, which lasted several years, has finally ended. The mystery is effectively completely solved and is over, and fans from all over the world made efforts to try and find out the history of this statue. I mean, when you think that some mysteries, especially gaming mysteries, some of them are never solved, but this one, we pretty much know the full history of it now. The only remaining question mark is the longevity of the statue, since it's not going to last forever. But since it clearly does have an owner, and it's now quite a sensitive issue, it's clear that if anything is to be done, Mr. Cadera's family must give their permission and blessing first. And if Sega did offer to help to fix it, and the family agreed, I'd certainly back to donate something if that was the case. Otherwise, in the spirit of what Mr. Cadera wanted, I think it's best to just leave it as a spot for people to visit. Personally, I'd love to go see the statue myself one day, but oh my, I doubt I could ever afford to do that anytime soon. At the very least, Sega, why not make some mini versions of the statue so we can have one on our desks? See you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my video. If you found this video interesting and enjoyed it, please click that like and subscribe button. And if you know anybody else who might be interested, please share it with your fellow friends and minions. If you want to continue the adventures, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And if you'd like to support the work I do further, please consider backing me on Patreon. Or if you'd just like to make a one-off donation, why not treat me to a coffee? Links to both are in the video description. Even the smallest donation is a huge help to keeping this channel going. But most of all, just thank you for taking the time out to watch this video and enjoy the work I do. It really does mean the world to me. Thank you.